All right, we are live. Hi, everybody. My name is Lindsay Kolsch. I am one of the co-executive directors here at TWLOHA on Her Arms. I am so excited to be having a conversation with you. This is part of some of our Another Day with You campaign conversations. We have people joining in. Please let me know where you're joining from. I am currently in Melbourne, Florida, where our headquarters are in Central Florida. I want to know where you all are tuning in from. We've got people all over the country hopefully joining us. I know we have people joining us as part of the Another Day with You campaign, but it's okay if you haven't heard about the campaign. We're going to talk a little bit about that. Little Rock, Arkansas, that's awesome. That's great. We are going to be going live here in a minute with our friend Adley. She's one of my favorite people. I love Adley. If you don't know Adley, you will hopefully enjoy her conversation as well with me. She exudes positivity, and I love getting to see her create, which is the main way that a lot of people know Adley. We actually got to meet Adley, I believe, like 10 years ago, maybe less than 10 years, but about 10 years ago. So we are just excited to have you all joining us. Hi, everybody. Let me know where you're tuning in from. We are going to be talking real quick before Adley pops on here. We're going to be talking about the Another Day with You campaign in honor of World Suicide Prevention Day, which is coming up in just a few days. In addition, Sunday marks the start of National Suicide Prevention Week here in the U.S. September as well is the entire Suicide Prevention Month. So there is so much going on, and it is an awesome time to look at what we can each do personally to impact those around us, to reach out to those around us, and move the numbers in the other direction as it relates to suicide and those who are dying by suicide every year. So Adley is, hi Adley, I'm about to have you come on here. I'm glad to see you. So we will be checking in with Adley. We're gonna actually do something super fun. I did tell her about this. It's not a surprise, although she's used to surprises. We're gonna be doing, we're gonna have a conversation about our campaign and just kind of life in general, but it's based off of our conversation cards that come with our Another Day with You campaign. Again, if you're first joining us, this is our campaign in honor of World Suicide Prevention Day, which is just a few days away. September 10th, that is Friday of next week, so 1 week from today, we are going to be recognizing all of the voices and all of the people who have been affected and impacted by suicide, so we collectively can say we want another day with you. So Adley is going to help us do that today. You may have also noticed two things. One thing is that I started a fundraiser, so if you'd like to donate and help us, we are raising $250,000, that's our goal, for treatment and recovery scholarships. So we hear it a lot. We hear it, I hate to say this, but we hear it almost every day. I would like to get help. I need to get help, but I don't have the resources to pay for mental health care. So those funds that we are raising create scholarships. If you would like to give, if you would like to support, every dollar that is given today on this live stream or at our website at the campaign is actually being matched dollar for dollar. So if you see that donate button, feel free to do that. You can also submit some questions. Submit questions, we may get to them, but I'm just really excited to have some conversations with Adley. I also want to mention, as we're talking about the campaign, it's our World Suicide Prevention Day pack. It comes with some awesome things, like we have a shirt that goes with it. We have some cool add-ons. You are going to be equipped with conversation cards, resources, and digital resources to have conversations about what we can all do to help prevent suicide in our community. So if you are joining, let me know where you're coming from. I wanted to mention that the campaign link, you can head over to anotherdaywith.com. So anotherdaywith.com, that's an easy way, or TWLOHA.com, and you'll find the campaign there as well. So let me see if I can do this correct. I think I'm gonna go ahead and bring Adley on, and let's just get started. All right. Let's see if I can get Adley to join us. Oh my
God. We did it.
Adley.
Look at this.
Look at you.
Look how cool this is, you guys.
Okay, that looks very nice on you. I had no doubt.
I love it.
I had no doubt it would look great. Well, so I guess Chad was able to get to you. We have a team that was at Bonnaroo this week, one of our first events, and sadly that event did not go on. But a happy coincidence, he was able to touch base with you, and that's awesome. So
I'm so thankful. Yeah, this is absolutely amazing. I love what you guys are doing all the time, but especially what you do on weeks like this week that are so important.
yeah, well, I mean, again, I told the people, Adley, I said, Adley's one of my favorite people to talk to, so you will hopefully enjoy this conversation.
Out of pressure.
Adley, we've known you, I was trying to count, at least 2010, right? But before that, because you were working, tell the people, you said, you mentioned on Instagram, you used to work with us more closely. People here probably know you in a different context. You're much, you're funny. You're creating these videos that we're all like, can't stop watching. Do you want to share a little bit about like how you got connected to Trade Love? And let's just do that first.
Yeah. So at the genesis of it, the way I found you guys was my dad was struggling with addiction, really, really heavy. I didn't have a basis for understanding for how to empathize with him, how to be there for him, how to not be angry with him, and just try to learn how to be the person that I needed to be in his life to try to make sense of it and my relationship to my dad, make sense of it for our family. So that's how I found you guys. And it was such a breath of fresh air for you guys to just be like, start the conversation. Because I think that's the hardest part for a lot of people. They keep it all in because one, there's a little bit of a shame, maybe just the stigma that comes with it. And you don't always know that it's going to be well received. That if you open up to somebody, you don't want them to feel like they're taking it on as their burden. You just want to share, to live in community with people. And you guys really take that first step. And it was a breath of fresh air to receive that. And so I just dove all in and applied for the internship and then came down and interned with you guys. I think it was the summer before my senior year.
Yeah, 2010, I believe.
You're dating.
I got married. You were at my wedding.
Yes. Yes, I do. It was so beautiful and so awesome. So I just love, I still actively, I donate because you guys you changed my life back then. I give so much credit to the woman I am today, but mostly the woman that I try to be most of the time, to the strength that you guys gave me back then, the way that you helped me understand people and situations outside my circumstance. I think you do that for a lot of people.
Don't make me cry, Adley.
Well, it's just beautiful. I love getting to just circle back up with you guys and have these important conversations because I don't get to have them a lot in my life. And you guys you make it very easy and very approachable for people to be honest and to feel safe and to feel heard, most importantly.
Yeah.
So thanks for having me.
That's the goal, right? It's, we're not the professionals, we're not the mental health counselors, but we are a group of people, the people watching, the people who make up this movement. We're just saying, like, it's okay to talk about it. It's okay to be human. But I might need a little guidance on how to have that conversation and that's actually what this whole campaign's about too, right? Suicide is one of those topics that's so hard. It's so hard to talk about. It's so scary for a lot of people to talk about. Even if you work in mental health, it doesn't preclude you from carrying that weight or the heaviness of, I really want to know what I can do to help because your life matters so much. So I want another day with you. So this is the invitation. This is the moment to say another day with you would be a gift. What can I do to help you get to that place? Pointing people to resources, creating a scholarship for people to have access to care. We know, like, it's the number one thing we hear. I want to get help, but I just can't afford it. So they turn to us and we're so grateful to be able to say, yes, we can help you. Let's get you into care. So that is what we are up to. If you are joining us, another day with you is to write Love on Our Arms campaign in honor of World Suicide Prevention Day, which is just 1 week away. So one cool thing, Adley, that's happening this year in connection to all of the things that are happening is with all of the World Suicide Prevention Day packs, we're actually giving people these conversation cards. And in the deck, there's this really cool mix of cards. Some of them are resources. Some of them are recognizing signs, warning signs of suicide. But some of the things that are so, just so accessible are conversation starters. We already talked about that, right? It's I don't know what I should start with. I don't know how to say it. I don't know what to do. So we kind of just came up with a couple suggestions. You know, they're meant to help you connect with somebody and to have like a real conversation. So I thought, you're very much an experiential person. If you're willing, I thought maybe we could do some of these questions and see how it goes, and let the people kind of know how to interact or how to share this conversation with people in their life. So you game for that?
Yeah, let's go first. This will be great.
Okay. I know I've got all the cards, so I feel very much like it's a little unfair, but
I'll just have you answer them too then.
Yeah, I will. Oh yeah. Okay. Ooh, this is a hard one, but I think we're gonna just dive in. So we'll just get real. How are you really doing?
That's a great question. Really doing. God, emotions are so touch and go, you know. Yeah. I'm really doing amazing. If I'm being honest, I feel more fulfilled. I think it's because I feel more sure of who I am as I've grown up now more than ever. But knowing who you are, it's a process. But I'm a believer. I have faith in God, and I'm a Christ follower. So for me, knowing who I am it comes with knowing whose I am. So I think my value is already intrinsic, and everybody's value is already intrinsic. You already have it. And most of the time it's just being reminded of it, you know, and just owning that and acting as if you love yourself sometimes until you presently find that you do, you know, and taking action to treat yourself in certain ways and observe yourself in certain ways instead of just seeing all the negative parts of yourself first. And so that was an active practice for me for a long time. And one of the best pieces of advice I've ever been given. But it's a practice like anything else, like working out, like yoga, like meditation. You're not going to be very good at it at first because your mind's been doing something else for so long. And a lot of times in a negative way, you've taken the weight of things maybe your family has said to you, or friends or ex-boyfriends or girlfriends. And you've let those words define who you are. But if you remember, if you're able to strip all that away and remind yourself who you are and whose you are, that you are beautifully and wonderfully made, and your purpose here is so, so valuable. And you start to live that out, it will change your life slowly, but surely it will.
Yeah. Well, I love hearing, I mean, I was touching base with you and I was like, my God, you just keep I'm like, it doesn't surprise me, but it gives me so much joy to sort of see where you are going, like with your story. I kind of had no doubt. I mean, not that I have like a premonition or I can't see into the future. I'm not clairvoyant, but I was like, this one is she's like, there's something, I got to keep watching Adley, because there is something like very special about like, I don't know, just the energy and like the groundedness that comes with everything that you create, everything that you kind of put your heart into. Like, I just don't doubt that you're like fully there. So I love that.
Thank you. Thank you for that. That means a lot coming from you.
Oh,
so should I ask it back to you? Do you want to do every question back?
Oh, sure. Okay. We can do that. We're
Lindsay.
Just winging it. We're just doing the conversation. We're like just friends hanging out.
Well, it's a great way to start it. So I will ask you, Lindsay, how are you really doing?
Really doing? You know, good would be like the umbrella, but then in moments it's like there's like life is a lot, right? So like I told you just over text, I was like, we have a new baby in my family, and I just so grateful and adore him. And so it makes everything like a lot, you know, like just getting through like the mental weight of like knowing, okay, I work full time and I have a new baby. I have a 7-year-old. So all of the logistics and like wanting to throw your whole heart into everything, it's a lot, you know? So it's good, but it's a lot. And I think the pandemic in general, it's just like, where are we like, what is life going to be like? And I try to stay present, like what you were saying, because if you start like adding up all the weight of like needs for my family, needs for work, need for everything, need for like the community, for the work, like you can just start to grow, and then that's too much. And then you're like, that's too much. I'm going to go to bed. That's too much. But there is a lot of goodness in there. So I think that's like I think that's the honest answer. There's a lot going on and it can feel like a lot, but it is good, you know? So
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, that's great. I love these conversations too, because you realize that everybody, one, is just a real person feeling really real emotions. And so often, especially on social media, we like put people on pedestals and think, oh, because we're just seeing the highlight reel, right?
Yeah.
So we just think,
Yeah.
oh, this is just always so awesome for them. But pain is real for absolutely everybody. So even as you're scrolling through other people's highlight reels, it's been said all the time, but I think taking a break from that for your own mental sanity, and most of us grab our phones from the moment we wake up, and what do? That's just instant comparison instead of waking up, practicing gratitude, getting really clear on who you are, what you want your day to look like, visual it, and take control of your days first. I think helps a lot of the craziness, because sometimes when you wake up in the morning and you're just reacting to everything, oh my gosh, I've got a baby, oh my gosh, I've got conference calls, oh my gosh, I got to go to work, then life stuff too that you're trying to just react to. I feel like life controls you more than we are in control of our own lives. And so another thing that I hope can help some people in the way that it's helped me is just first thing in the morning, trying not to look at your phone, especially if you're in a state of you're shaky right now. If you're shaky, don't look at your phone. Just pray, meditate, whatever that is for you that kind of grounds you. Do that first and take control of your day before it takes control of you, because it will.
The distractions, the being distractible is I think it's like a new problem, right? Like how many generations before us had this like constant distractions that we have to decide, where we take our time and what we do with it. And sometimes it's nice to have distractions. I will say that, like I even think about like what you were saying, some of the videos that basically went viral at the beginning of the pandemic. I cannot tell you the number of people who sent me the weather, that news anchor video that you did. And I was like, Adley! And I was like, I need a laugh. Like I needed something to feel like joy. I literally just need joy in my body. I needed a laugh. And that's why I was just like, you know what? It would be Adley to just make this possible, to make this moment possible for like literally millions of people. You were making that moment possible. I think, did I lose you? Did our connection go?
Oh yeah, there, I got you back.
Okay. I was just saying that, I think those moments of joy that you guys create like on a daily basis, like sometimes are so necessary for our like mental health. So
it is. I think we it did start heavily during the pandemic, and that was most people's response to us was like, because I kind of get embarrassed by the videos sometimes because they are so silly. But then when we saw the response being, oh my gosh, I need this distraction, I just need a laugh. Because there's heaviness everywhere where you look around the last 2 years. And so just us learning to be comfortable with just being silly and kind of being like just that mindless escape. I went to the doctor yesterday, and she said, so your videos will pop up in my timeline all the time, or people will like send them to me or stuff like that. And she goes, after being in the medical field, I come home and I just need mindless entertainment. And so when I started seeing, okay, well, that's how it's coming across, it made me see a little bit more value in what we do, more so than just being silly to be silly, but to see that it actually serves a purpose. And because entertainment does, and comedy has historically gotten us through some of the toughest times.
I mean that, it's in a way, I don't know that you would call it this maybe, but it's art, right? Like comedy is an art, and like for somebody to be able to create that, it's special, and it's like a human thing that we need. Like it feels so good to laugh. Like there's a reason that it feels good to laugh. So it's a need, so I love it. Okay. All right. So I want to get through a couple more. Got some really good questions in here, but okay. We're doing these. Okay.
I love it.
Okay. All right. I'm going to just show you guys the card. I don't know if you can see it. It says, name a moment you asked for help. What did it feel like, and what happened next?
That's another great question. These are awesome cards. I ask for help all the time.
I love that.
I think probably the reason I ask for help all the time now is because when I first started, when I first believing that it was okay, somebody must have made me feel safe to be able to be that vulnerable, and it was well received. And so I think who you're asking matters. Somebody that's trusted, that's safe, that you don't believe is going to judge you, and that you don't feel like, or that they don't feel like they're being asked to solve all your problems. Because, you know, I can't solve everybody's problems. You can't solve my problems, but letting them feel like, one, they're not going through it alone, and better days are ahead. And somebody used this analogy with me once. I came to somebody for help, and I felt like I was just in a huge valley. And I was like, I don't have the tools to get to the mountaintop. I don't have them. And so I was asking for help. I don't recall what the situation was. And they kind of helped me zoom out and see that, okay, you've gone through really bad times before, and you've gone through really great times, and life kind of, it's not like this. It is very much like this. And so if I look at it like on that slope, what the tools that got me to where I am today are not the same set of tools that are going to get me to where I'm going. So in those valleys is where you're put, okay, you're here now. You're supposed to learn something. You're supposed to grow. You're not going to be handed the next set of things that you're not ready for. Everything in your life is kind of, it's like water. I could have a pool of water and I'm trying to make a waterfall over there. But if it doesn't have the foundation, it's just going to come back and meet itself where it's at. You know, it's water always finds itself back again until you build new foundations. So every time I'm in a valley now, I try to zoom out and say, okay, what are you supposed to learn? Because the quicker you figure that out, the quicker you're going to get out of the valley. And so for me, when I need help or when I'm in a period of distress and I don't know what to do, I take ownership for it, for one. And again, these are things that I'm still practicing. These are not things that I'm expert at, but they're advice that's been given to me that has helped. I'm by no means an expert, but I think when you take ownership for everything in your life, and things can happen to you, right? Things happen to you all the time, but you always control your response, and you are in control of you. The same way you're in control of your physical body, you're in control of your emotional state too. And you will work out your physical body or go to physical therapy if it's broken. You've got to do that for your mind too. And I just think taking ownership of everything in your life, it seems really heavy, but it's actually the most freeing thing. To own it all and say, okay, I have the choice of how I'm going to act in every scenario. And so if I act badly or I want to sit in this victimness, that is on me. But it's on me. I'm choosing to do it. So I think that's another practice too that I'm starting to actively work on, is take ownership for absolutely everything. Because we always want to blame circumstances for why things aren't looking the way that we wish they would. But if we take ownership, it spawns us to action a little bit faster.
So for you, it looked a lot like identifying that person, the safe person, and like a friendship, right? Like there's so many different types of help. And I think that's one thing that Love on Our Arms in general, like we want to remind people that like help does look like sometimes sitting with a professional mental health counselor, but it also sometimes looks like just knowing that you can reach out to a friend or someone and have a conversation, or just let them know you're not doing well, right? So that's really, that's kind of like a broad spectrum of help. I think for me, and I'll just answer it because I know you were going to ask me. For me, one of my recent times, and I come back to this a lot, just having had my most recent son, Leo, when I had my first child, August, I had a really difficult recovery postpartum period where anxiety just kind of overtook my life. There was a rain cloud, like a dark cloud over every experience with him. Just this anxiousness of what's next? What am I supposed to be doing? It's such an adjustment and a transition period, and also sort of having a rather, I would say, traumatic sort of birthing experience. So all that aside, feeling this anxiety, which is something I had struggled with before and still do, but it was a much more magnified experience. And so I remember I think it must have been, he was 7 months old, and my sister, I was like panicked that he was going to wake up, and I was just exhausted and not sleeping. And my sister just took me aside. I think I had snapped at somebody for closing a door or something. And she goes, I don't know that this is normal. Like, you don't really seem like yourself, but like there is help, like you can get help. And I was like, and it like kind of hit me for the first time, like, oh, this isn't necessarily what my experience has always been. Like, I do need help. And so I was able, you know, for me, it was medication, taking an anti-anxiety medication. And then when I was preparing to have another kid, we discussed it with my doctor. And so I decided to preemptively get on some medication, and knowing that I had a counselor like lined up if I needed it, being very clear with my husband about what I needed. But it was that moment where I felt a little, you know, I was working in mental health, but I didn't recognize my experience. So I think I didn't even, it's funny because I wasn't the one asking for help. I was being told that, hey, maybe you do need help, but it felt, like you said, like it felt freeing in a way that for the first time I could say, okay, no, like this isn't right. This isn't right. Something's not right. I do need to zoom out. I need to look at this. And then for me, asking help preemptively was actually kind of a big, I think like a big personal moment where I realized, okay, I know what that was like. I don't want to necessarily walk through that if I don't have to, or if I can work to care or take care of my mental health or prepare for that. So lining up all of these things. So help kind of look different in different seasons, right? It's one of like getting help in the midst of it, but then also knowing yourself enough. Like, I know all of these factors are going to come down on me, just with the season of life. So how do I prepare and ask for the help ahead of time? Which was like this like weird, like knowing yourself. And I feel grateful that I can say like, I'm in such a good place as with like this season, because I'm getting to enjoy parts of motherhood that I did not. I was like, I used to tell people, but I was like, I don't think I want a baby, like a new baby. Like, I don't know that I wanted, that's a terrible phase. That's how I felt about it. And right now I'm like, it's so sweet to get to re-experience some of that, being healthier. And like, yes, it's a pandemic and it's wild times to be alive. Like, my gosh, there's so much, but like the sweetness of those moments are back. So I can kind of contrast the like, whoa, like that was like night and day experience. So for those listening, I don't know if my story would help anybody, but I just always want to encourage people. Like, if somebody comes to you and, you know, even gives you the indication that they're concerned about you, like take it as a gift, like a window into the moment to say, okay, like, what could this look like? And it was hard. Like, it didn't, you know, it wasn't like the easiest thing to like sit with it and be like, oh, like, I wish I had just like had a great experience, but I didn't. So mourning that as well, you know, like I think seasons in our life when we need help, it's hard, but and you can get the help, but there is this piece that's like, oh, I have to kind of mourn the fact that that was like a hard season, you know, like it didn't go the way I wanted it to. It didn't feel the way I wanted it to. So
you feel robbed of something almost. Like it was this beautiful thing for everybody else. Well, why not me? You know? And it's so fair to ask. And then it's okay, we can ask that. And then what do we do with that information? Okay, I feel robbed of this experience that is really beautiful for everybody else but me. So something's wrong with me, or I'm bad, I've done something. And then I resolve that, okay, now I know I have information now that other people don't have, because I'm through it. I got through it. So how do I make sense of this instead of living in that victimness of feeling robbed on certain things? Okay, how can I use this as my fuel instead of my fortress? You know, because that's what we do with pain a lot too, is we just hide in it instead of using it to stand on top of it and be like, I made it through. Now I have a set of tools that's going to help somebody else get through it too. And we kind of take the power back that way.
I love that.
Over the situation. So much, again, it's all easier said than done, but zooming out of our own circumstances is a gift we can all give ourselves.
I did just want to I'm going to take like a quick PSA. Thank you to the people who are donating. I just saw a couple of donations come through. If you're watching and you'd like to help to write Love on Her Arms, raise money for treatment and recovery scholarships, everything that you're donating is going directly to those funds. In fact, we've actually helped 2 people while we've been talking. We've helped 2 people sit with a counselor for the first time. So if you can give, please do. Actually, I take that back. There's a matching grant. So let's double that number. So we're at 230, and that's almost 3 people. So let's keep going with that. If you want to give, you can do that. Tap on, I believe, Somebody else tell me where to tap. I can't see it on my there should be like a little donate button, I think, at the bottom of your screen.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I want to make sure we don't run out of time because there are some more questions in here that are super good. Okay. Okay. What is one thing you need to hear right now? And what is one thing you need to say or share?
I think I need to do a better job of giving words of affirmation. That's something that I've been working on recently, because it's not necessarily my love language. And so I don't give it. We tend to give our love language. Like, I'm touch. So I touch people if I want them to feel heard or understood. And some people don't like that. So I'm working on that too. But also with just words of affirmation, I think people always need to feel like they're enough. I feel like that's something all of us need to feel, if we're really honest with ourselves, that who we are in our stage of life is we are enough. And we can start again or keep going wherever we're at. We're perfectly prepared to keep taking those next steps. And so I feel like everybody needs to hear that they're enough, and more so than what they need to hear. We can have all the head knowledge in the world, right? You've been in mental health for how long? You have all the head knowledge. It's us getting off our butts and taking action on all of the stuff that we know. Because we can preach it all day long. We can say it, but if we don't do it, if we know we need to help somebody and we're not willing to go and do it, it doesn't make sense. If we know we need to meditate and pray and find ourselves and our spiritual grounding and who we are outside of our physical bodies, like, we didn't choose this, but our identity is so wrapped up into it. We need to remember who we actually are as people. And it has nothing to do with what we look like or the culture scape and where we are taught to find value and what we wear and what we look like and how we act. And I feel like people are trying to always live up to something. And I think everybody just needs to hear that, regardless of that they're enough. And that is kind of tied in with words of affirmation.
Yeah. You know what's great about this question, Adley, is I think the way I would answer the first one, which is what's one thing you need to hear right now? Well, you said it. You're enough.
That was what I was thinking too, as soon as you said it.
Yeah. I mean, to be vulnerable and to be transparent, like, for every new stage of life that I feel like I go through, whether it's, like, especially after having like a new baby in the house, you're like, is what I'm doing enough for my family, for my job, for my friends, for my family, for the world, right? And I'm not to say that you are enough means you don't care about those things, but coming back to that moment of like, I am who I am. That's always becoming, and whatever that is becoming is enough, and that's enough. So I don't need, I think it's the beauty of that journey is to accept that a little bit more and to remind each other that it's true, right? So I love that. So I think the one thing, let's see, what's the other one? What's one thing you need to say or share? I felt like the one thing I needed to say or share, I actually said earlier, I don't want that to be a cop-out, but just saying, like, man, like, it's a lot right now. Like, I assume people in the comments feel that way. I can't help but think, of the To Write Love community, your community. Like, it's a lot. Like, it's a lot right now, living in a world where it feels like there's a crisis every 5 seconds, and a true crisis. I don't mean that, I'm not diminishing it at all, but it's, true crises. And when I think back to Suicide Prevention Month, I think about that, like, there are these moments of storms and crises that are like literally happening on these individual levels. And I think this campaign, going back to just what we're talking about, Another Day with You, is meant to just encourage people to keep going. There was something we heard earlier from a mom who lost their son to suicide. And she talked about the number of, I think, minutes that he was alive. I think it was like 14 million minutes he was alive. And so the thing she said to, the thing she was saying to encourage people was, a second, put a second next to a second, and it becomes 2 seconds, and then makes a minute, and then it makes a day, and then it, just keep going. And like, that's, I think, the heart of this campaign is another day. And it's just a combination of getting through these minutes, these seconds, to get through the day to get through the night. If it's some, I mean, there's people internationally watching this, it may literally be their night right now. Getting to the morning and knowing on the other side that there's help, that there are resources, that there are people that care. And I think that's what this represents. I think that's what it represents for you to be on this conversation. Like all the people who follow you and get joy from your sort of creativity, like for them to know, like you care too. So it's not just people out there. It's like the people right here really care. So I don't know exactly how I arrived at sharing that, but I just wanted to say that because I think it just feels like if everything feels like a lot right now for you, like we just sincerely hope that you'll stay another day. The folks who are donating from I see someone saying hello from Iraq. The people who are donating on Instagram right now, your donations are being matched. I just want to mention that we're using these donations to help support our treatment and recovery fund, which means people will be sitting with counselors. They'll be getting support with some of our partners that provide substance use treatment. There's so many different ways that we have been expanding our program right now to include new options for people who can't get to a counselor physically. That's been another challenge for I think everybody in the pandemic, is like just changing the way we do life. And that's one piece that thankfully for some communities now you do get access, right? You can get telehealth. You can have a counselor just like you and I are talking, but there's a lot of apps. There's like these digital apps coming out, and there's just so much more creativity around how we care for our mental health. But this scholarship is going to make it possible for people. So if you have the ability to give, please give. Your donations are being matched. So we are super appreciative of that. Do we have time for like one more or one or two more? Okay. Okay. Let's do one or two more. I don't want to give away all the questions. Okay. So this is one of the more challenging cards, I would say, in the deck. And it's kind of, people are able to use these cards, these conversation cards that we're doing. They're able to do it sort of in whatever order feels comfortable. But this question says, how has suicide touched your life or the people that you love?
I had my best girlfriend in Nashville, which I still struggle to not feel a lot of guilt over, commit suicide 3 years ago. She was the one who first started making videos with me. In all of my early videos, she's got beautiful brown hair. She's hilarious. Her name was Hannah. And I didn't see it coming. And I was that close to her. And it's so difficult. And I got a phone call, and somebody found her, and she had suffocated herself. And it took a long time to understand. Still won't ever understand it. And I don't think you can ever understand it because it wasn't communicated to you where they're at. And then I think you go through a lot of trying to say, okay, what did I miss? What more? That's what everybody's going to think of. If you've been affected by suicide as somebody in your life, you're going to be like, how did I miss it? How was I so self-centered or so self-absorbed that I didn't notice somebody that close to me struggling that much? How did I miss it? And what could I have done? And she's not the first. I've had 5 friends, pretty close to me, struggle with it and or commit suicide or come to me with severe thoughts of it. We had to work through it and learning how to be a better friend in that space, how to help people, how to create a safe space to where they feel like they can come to you and not feel crazy, and not feel weird, and just help them through what they're going through. And Jim that worked with, does he still work with y'all?
He doesn't, Jim Hoyle, no.
Yeah, Jim Hoyle. He said this beautiful thing to us one time that I'll never forget, but I think it describes this well, of when we were interning with you guys and trying to learn how to be good facilitators of these conversations and how to stand firm for people and be there for people. He said, if somebody's down in a hole, you're not this person that's like standing on top of the hole, reaching down, being like, come on, you can get out of here. I'm going to be the savior and pull you out of this terrible hole that you're in. It looks like getting down in that hole with them, sitting next to them, letting them not feel crazy for being in the hole
Yeah.
and saying, we're going to find a way out together.
Yeah.
And that looks like a million different things. But I think just being willing to listen without judgment as we are all growing and doing the best we can in life and figuring it out goes a long way. And I still feel a lot of regret that I didn't do that perfectly for my friends. And I know their families feel the same way. And having been on the other side of the pain so many times, I think it shows how much work we still have to do to understand people, to empathize with people in such a self-serving, self-centered world. And it seems like it's going more and more in that direction, especially if you watch the news. But if you could just look at the world around you and see all of the beauty in it and say, how can I make a difference with my influence? People a lot of times think they can't make a difference if they don't have like the numbers of influence, or they're not this big, powerful politician or a person who's very visible. But everybody has a circle of influence.
Yeah.
How are you going to influence your brother, your sister, your mom, your dad, the person you see at the gas station today? Everybody's an influencer to a degree. You have power. And when you do that, an act of kindness for one person, that is transformative for them, and they'll do it for somebody else. And it is a ripple effect. I think of the education that you guys have given me, and then just where I'm at in my life. Hopefully, if I'm doing it right, there will be a ripple effect. Whether I had a platform big or small, we all have the same ability to change lives. And I think you guys are helping give people that foundation better than anybody else out there, just with the education, having conversations like this and giving the tools for people to change their own lives too.
Man, I so appreciate you sharing that, Adley. I don't think I knew that part of your story. And it hurts my heart to know, the research out there shows us, they used to think that if somebody died by suicide, it would deeply impact 6 people, which you think that's 6 people. No. And now they're showing that basically when we lose somebody to suicide, it deeply impacts up to 135 people, like one life. And so if you think about what you were saying with that ripple effect, what if with that one life, we can help them stay? What if with that one life, we can help give them resources and connection and safe space to say, I need help? Then that's not one life. That's actually 135 lives. And that's, I'm not good at that sort of math in my mind, getting that farther out, but I think you can picture, like you said, the ripple effect. Like it's not, we can't overlook that. Right. And I think for the people who are experiencing, and maybe there's even people listening today, that I just want to say, like, one of the big things that we even like to bring up around this conversation of suicide and honoring the stories of the people, who've survived the suicide loss, and honoring the legacy of the people who have passed, but also saying, like, there's a lot of people who are dealing with suicidal thoughts, not like in a range, right? It's like I think there's just the number of, so 700,000 people have died by suicide, but there are 25 attempts for every person that dies. That means it's actually way more common for you to think about suicide. And so what's important there is to be able to say, I'm one of those people that's thinking about this, and I need to connect with someone who can help me kind of understand where I'm at and understand how to move out of those thoughts and out of danger, right? Out of that risk. It's Chad from our team, who you might have seen sort of today, or I don't know if you guys even got to see each other. I think you were on a call, but he says this a lot, like, suicide prevention, most of the time, most of the work happens outside of the crisis moment. We want to be able to support the crisis, people in crisis, get them to resources. But a lot of the work that you are doing, I'm doing, people everywhere can do, is the work outside of the crisis moments. It's the conversations, right? It's like, that's why we have these conversation cards. It's doing the work in the daily life, in the moments where it's okay to just check in on someone and ask them how they're really doing, right? That's the moment we're trying to create, because connection, being valued, being seen, like all of the things that you've been talking about, that's what keeps people connected. That's what keeps people fighting, I go back to that question of, like, where we talked about when you asked for help, what did it look like? What did it feel like? And I love this quote. It's actually in one of my kids' books. But it says, like, asking for help is not giving up. It's refusing to give up. So I love the idea that when we say asking for help is not a sign of weakness, that people really will truly believe, like, asking for assistance, asking for help, even having the conversation about help is not telling somebody that they're giving up, fighting on their own. It's telling them, I'm going to get in that hole with you. I'm going to be down there with you. Whatever it looks like, we'll get there slowly together. You won't be alone. And so, yeah, I just thank you for sharing that. I know in my life, and I'll just answer it because I know that that's fair. It's fair to do outside of, you know, part of my job with TWLOHA, which is very much a very special and honored role that I get to play, is I get to often connect with families in moments after they have lost a loved one. We find that people will sometimes want to do something to honor a loved one. And so I connect with families and let them know that, you know, that the work that we're going to be able to do with what they have given, entrusted to us in the memory of a loved one. It's been hitting me pretty hard lately. I just, you know, it's one of those things where, you know, they're sitting there on the other side of the email or on the other side of the phone call without a son, without a daughter, without a brother or a sister. Had a couple of those this week. And I just thought, this is what this campaign's all about. I don't want to live in a world where I have to keep getting those phone calls or keep making those phone calls. And I would say you are probably in a similar position where you don't ever want to get that call that you got again.
Nobody does. Yeah.
Nobody does. A good friend of mine, actually, one of my very first experiences, I had just come on staff with TWLOHA, and one of my first experiences with losing someone to suicide was actually a friend of a friend. We weren't very close. We were new friends, but I was there with her when she got that call that her friend had just died by suicide. And the raw pain that kind of just came over the whole room with what she was feeling when she got that news. I mean, I'm getting chills right now. Like, I'm not, it's something you just don't ever forget. And it makes you want to fight like hell for the people who might be in that place, might be thinking about losing somebody. We have to do everything that we can. So those calls don't have to be made. You know, we have to do everything because it's just too important. It's, you know, like you said, like, there's too much on the line. There's too much at stake. We have to keep doing what we can. So the people that are just tuning into the conversation, I think being open to this conversation, you're doing what you can. I think, you know, maybe it's going to TWLOHA.com and just learning about the conversation. It's, if you're someone who gave, you did what you can. Like, let's just never stop doing what we can with what we've got to make sure that people feel heard, they feel seen, and that they feel loved. And man, that's a hard question to sit with.
Did you feel a big difference, because you've been doing this and dealing with really heavy topics for as long as I've known you? Did you feel a big shift in the heaviness over the last year and a half?
Yeah, I would say the sheer volume, or like psychological terror. I use the word psychological terror because I think it's fair. Like, we say we've all sort of experienced this collective trauma, but I think what we're starting to see, especially in young people, God, I got a text message from Aaron Moore. You know Aaron, he led the MOVE conferences. I got a text message from him yesterday and asking, hey, any recommendations for books about suicide for elementary school kids? I've got someone that I need to kind of make a recommendation to. And I thought, you know, we gave him some, and there's some books out there, but I just thought, like, oh, like that's heavy. That is the hardest thing I can imagine someone in elementary school trying to understand. Adult, like,
we can't even do it.
Grown people, like, so I would say that's like kind of an indicator. or maybe a reminder, like
Yeah.
that where we have been this past year and a half, and feels like we don't know when it will end. But it feels like it's making everything kind of heavier, and at a younger age, it's like we have to do what we can to connect, like, with what we're feeling, with the resources that need to be there. I would say this though, I want to end this with some tragic optimism, which is the kind of the term that I use. Like, it feels like for the first time though, like America, the country, the US, and maybe it's wherever you're in globally, if you're watching, that it's okay to literally say, like, I've had a shit year. I have had the worst year, or I am doing terrible right now. Like, I'm not thriving as a person. I'm not like that plant back there. I am like wilting. I'm not thriving. And I think that at the very least of all of this is like, that's a bright spot for me, because what I think that is saying is that there's going to be funding invested in resources. There's going to be conversations for kids moving forward to build resilience, to build emotional intelligence, to understand what we need as humans to be healthy from like our brain and our whole body. Like I can't, so I have this very tragic optimism. Like, in one hand, I feel like everything is too much. This is a lot, and this is a lot of pain coming out in the world. But then I also have this moment where I'm like, you know what? If I can tell a stranger on a Zoom call, like, things are hard, like, this is hard, then I could probably also tell a friend or a family member, like, I maybe need some help. This is hard. Like, this has been the worst year of my life. And I'm not, you know, that, or whatever it is, like, I'm doing terrible right now, whatever it is. So I think that's kind of where, that's where I end up trying to remind myself, like, this is it has exposed the things that I think needed to be exposed, or brought to everyone on some level can relate to this anxiety, if they had never felt it before, or maybe just this weight of like unknown and uncertainness, which can lead, you know, to an experience of depression, or, you know, whatever it is. I think we can all sort of relate at this point, and understand a little bit of like what mental health means, you know? So
and I think the way that you approach that with the families is such a good representation of what we all need, to where imagine if you're sitting on a call with one of these families and you're like, no, it's okay, you got it. You know, you're not broken, you're thriving like this plant, you know? They'd be like, I'm not. Like, we all know that, or in this conversation, that it is okay to not be okay. And there's still people, circles of people who don't believe that and don't feel like they can express it, because they don't feel like they have a safe space to admit that they're really struggling and really going through something. And there is such a thing as toxic positivity. And
love that word.
You know, like, I'm a generally really positive person, and I practiced myself into being able to see the bright side of things and see opportunity in almost everything. But there is a side of the coin that's too far, where you're devaluing people's pain, and you're saying, you're just trying to put a Band-Aid on it so you don't have to deal with it, and you don't sit with it, and then it perpetuates and it festers and it never heals, because you don't acknowledge that it's there, and you just try to positivity your way out of it. And it doesn't
I
work.
I kind of imagined a little dog scampering out of
positivity your way out of it.
I know. I'm sure you didn't mean that, but that's where my head went.
No, it doesn't work like that. It'd be nice if it did, but there's room for both. You can't fix it if you don't know what you don't identify the problem. A doctor can't. You have to identify what it is and own that and know that to be real. And now you can find solutions for that. You can go to your resources and your tools and be a beacon for that once you've gone through it. So hopefully after this year, everybody who's made it through has grown their bone of resilience, and we've all picked up a bunch of new tools and skill sets that we didn't have before, that if we choose to are going to allow us to be much stronger people for our kids that are going through this. And we've all had to self-develop a lot, and I think if we can focus on that, because that's our only choice, we either grow from this experience, or we lessen ourselves, and we develop in the opposite direction, and we kind of crawl back into a hole, rather than feel empowered about what we just went through and came out on the other side. You know? And so I hope people can own their strength that's developed through this too.
Yeah.
And acknowledging that it's been a terrible.
Yeah. Yeah. Might as well. I think so. This goes for just 1 hour, right? And then we'd have to stop anyway. I feel like we could chat forever. I just want to thank you, Adley, for being who you are. Like, just truly, like, I can just say thank you for being who you are. Thank you for lending your voice. You remind me of so many like nuggets of wisdom that like you choose to embody them and you share them. So thank you for being a part of this conversation. If you want to check out the campaign, the Another Day With You campaign, Adley's wearing a really cool custom limited jersey.
Look at this, you guys. If you haven't seen it yet.
We've got a fun pack. So World Suicide Prevention Day is coming up on Friday. If you would like to be a part of the campaign, visit TWLOHA.com/WSPD, or you can go to anotherdaywith.com. There you're going to find the pack, the resources. If you happen to be in the US, you get free 2-day shipping on us. So your pack should arrive in time to be a part of this conversation. But regardless, there are so many different ways that you can be a part of helping someone stay. And so we want to just encourage you. We want to thank the people who gave. Your donations are being matched. You can still give at TWLOHA.com/WSPD. You'll see where you can give and help support treatment and recovery scholarships. This is just always such a pleasure, Adley. I just, I wish I was in Nashville with you. I'm like, why did Chad go? I should have just flown.
You should have gone. Yeah, you gotta get back here. I would love to have an extended conversation. It'd be long overdue. If you have a way to save this chat too, then I will, and then I can post it out on other platforms and try to spread the awareness.
That is awesome. All right, everybody. Well, thank you for tuning in. I'm sorry we didn't get to any questions, but we were answering some very meaningful questions. So I thank you for your time, for your just availability and your willingness to always kind of make sure that there's this space for people.
Likewise.
Right.
Learn from the best.
All right, friend.
Bye.
Bye.